Welcome to another Modern League. Today we're going to be playing this deck that I 5-0'd recently in a league, and when I did, it got called White, Red, Green. So that is the deck I'll be playing. It's also known as Amulet Titan, but this is a different version of Amulet Titan. I'm not playing Summoner's Pact. I am playing Green Sun's Twilight instead. I've been actually liking Green Sun's Twilight instead of Summoner's Pact. It's definitely got some advantages. And then also playing the Through the Breach with Emrakul and Atraxa. We can actually hardcast Emrakul or Atraxa. The Atraxa is a little bit more difficult with blue, because this deck does not actually, without playing Summoner's Pact, we're not playing any blue mana. We don't have Playtarian West. It is nice freeing our mana base from blue, and then focusing more red sources with the Gruul Turfs. Valakut also adds red, and the Boros Garrison, that is allowing us to use that red mana for a Slayer Stronghold, our Sun Home, and our Through the Breach. And sideboard, we got Elesh Norn. I tried it main. I'm trying it side. It is really good against some matchups. It's really good against Solitude. It's good against the Leyline Binding. And it's also just really good with a lot of stuff in the deck that we run. It helps out our Titan, being able to double Titan. Colossus is just insane with Elesh Norn getting double that ability. And then double Traxa is also just really good. Grazer's not a bad thing. Bounce Sand's kind of annoying with Elesh Norn though, because it will trigger twice, which means you have to bounce 2 lands. But it does also work with Amulet, where one Amulet actually will trigger twice, and you'll get 2 untaps with your Bounce Sands. And then 2 Amulets is 4 untaps, which is just a lot of mana. But it is bouncing 2 lands. And that's the deck. Cityscape Leveler, another good creature. Through the Breach that in, get to get the attack trigger. We don't get the cast trigger if we Through the Breach it, but at least we do get attack trigger right away. And then after we sacrifice it, we can always unearth it later, bring it back, and attack for the 8 and destroy another permanent. And with that, let's get into match 1. We lost the die roll, so we'll be on the draw. Opening hand, it's okay. It's got turn 1 Amulet, turn 3 Saga goes off, gets second Amulet, so we can have 5 mana on turn 3 if we draw nothing else. So turn 6, or turn 4, 6 mana. Turn 4 Titan potentially. Green Sun gets us there, so it's keepable. Okay, so not getting turn 1 griefed, which would have definitely made this hand bad, so that's good. Turn Timbers, an okay draw. We're still a long way from casting it, but it's another look at a big payoff creature. They get a Triumph, and they have the Prismatic Ending for our Amulet, which makes this hand a lot worse. And the Preordain, that got unbanned. Alright, Garden's pretty good here, because once we get our Amulet off of Saga, we can make a copy of it and have 2 Amulets again. But they draw into Teferi, which is really good against his hand. They are lining up really well against what we're doing. Netherland is not good. Play out to Saga again. There's Ren, bring back a land, draw another land. At least this one comes in untapped, so we can make a token here. There's another Preordain, as it was. They plus up to Fairy, bring back a land. In return, we get to make a construct. we draw Netherlands. So have the decision here. We can make a second construct, or we can fill out the mana, get the Amulet, make a copy of the Amulet. If they have any kind of interaction, they can kind of blank that turn as we try to make a copy of the Amulet, and they get rid of it. We basically just wasted a turn. There's nothing we can do with 2 Amulets. It only gives us 5 mana, so Green Sun for 5 mana is not exactly what we want to be doing right now. So the construct just seems like the safer, better thing. So make the construct here. Have 2 2/2s that are about to be 3/3s with the Amulet. Play out one of these tap lands while we still have the Amulet before they get rid of it. Attempt to attack into this fairy. And they have the Leyline Binding for the construct token, so we don't get to take Teferi off the board. And they have a second Leyline Binding for the Amulet. And then here's an Omnath for a big blocker that this construct token is not going to be able to get through. A third Preordain. We plus up the fairy, keeping it around. Alright, we draw a third Amulet. Attempt to make a copy of it. Or no, play a land, make some mana. Bounce one of the not can play tap lands. Can't attack into Omnath. Even if I make a copy of Amulet, construct's still only a 3/3 into the 4/4. There's a third Leyline Binding for my third Amulet. Attempt to make a copy of the Amulet. So at least I still have an Amulet, but they minus Teferi bounce back to my hand. I don't know if that was the right play. I mean, otherwise they would have just bounced the construct, so bouncing my land's probably better. There's a fourth Preordain, so they are just getting to find all the cards they need. And then their escape shifts. And they sacrifice enough lands to get enough Valakut triggers to kill me. So lose game 1 to 4-color Omnath escape shifts. For the sideboarding plan, against anything that's going to play like Solitude, we didn't actually see Solitude that game, but we did see a lot of white cards. And then they also did play Leyline Binding. The Through the Breach plan just gets a little bit worse. Playing that to put in an Emrakul just to have Emrakul Leyline Binding. I mean, Leyline Binding is not that bad because we still get to might it or destroy the Leyline Binding and get back the Emrakul, but having it solituded is just 15 life, but it's not really worth it. It's a easy side out for Elish Norn, putting in the Dramoka just to help against the instant speed binding, and then putting in one Hayride Might. I did see the Leyline Binding, but I didn't want to go too heavy on putting in the forces and both mights. Just having the one seems fine. And then taking out a Radiant Fountain as well. And that's the sideboard, so going on the play. Decent hand here. Got a turn 3 Dryad to play at some lands, so maybe turn 4 Green Sun for 6, so definitely keepable. Going lead on the basic 4s. They are playing Wrenn and 6. There's no reason to get this Might out now just to have it die to Wrenn and 6, so probably since I didn't play the Might out, might have been better to turn Timber, but I'm going to be bouncing this, so it doesn't matter too much. Preordain. bounce land, so next turn we can Dryad. Turn 2 Wrens, pretty good. Alright, so Amulet, I could play out Amulet and then the bounce land and then the Dryad, but I don't know how much that sequence matters, so just play with the Dryad and then play with the Force. Just gives less information. They don't have to know that I have a second bounce land. It's the same amount of mana. Boseiju the Amulet, so we actually get to ramp up a little bit there, and then bring back Boseiju with the Wren. And play a blocker for a Dryad. Okay, so I can play out this Might and give it haste and attack at the Wren, but not really that good of a game plan here. So just playing out the turn Timber, paying the life so it comes in untapped, so we can try to see how well this Green Sun for 6 does. Or Green Sun 4/5. So we get to look at top 6 cards. Pretty good choices here. Leveler or Elish Norn. Seeing all the bindings and ETB triggers, and Valka is also a trigger that Elish Norn stops. Seems pretty good to just get the Elish Norn here. And then as far as these lands, doesn't really matter too much. So grab the Gardens. Don't really care about Cavern. They didn't seem to have a lot of counter magic. And then now, as I was saying in the intro, here's the bounce land where I have to bounce 2 lands. So Turn Timber is a thing I don't mind bouncing. Get to actually now cast it, but then also have to just bounce a basic Force. No point to attack into the Grazer. A Boseiju, a Dryad, just ramping me more, bring back Boseiju, and then explosives on 1. Alright, so we have spin the wheel again, but this time with Turn Timber, so we're like a top 7 cards. Again, a really awesome hit. So double Colossus seems really good with the Elish. Can draw potentially a lot of cards. We're going to put, on the first trigger, we're going to put these 2 lands into play, at least, depending on how lucky we get draws. We could put even more into play. Garrison's going to bounce 2 lands. So then on the second trigger, we're going to have at least 2 more lands to put back into play. I mean, it could potentially draw, I mean, at very worst, it's going to draw 4 cards. And at very best, it can draw a lot more than that. Atraxa is also just really good here, being able to look at the top 10 cards twice. You can definitely find a lot of helpful things, but Primetime just kind of wins the game without taking the chance that the other 2 cards do. So, and it gives less information, doesn't tell them that we're playing Atraxa, so just going to do the safe, less fun Primeval Titan plan. Go get the Vestige and just a Valakut. Vestige is actually going to get to trigger twice, so even though it comes in play tap, it still adds both a red and a white, which will allow us to give the haste, or give Primetime haste. And then grab 2 random other lands. Bajuka Bog, I mean, they're only bringing back their Boseiju anyway, so not too relevant, but. And yeah, they concede here. Technically, it's not lethal. They could block with Grazer and take 9 down to 2, but they're just really far behind, and Elish is going to make it difficult for them to come back. So we get game number 2. For game 3 on the draw, no changes to sideboard, keeping the plan the same. Good hand here. Turn 1, Saga into Amulet. Turn 2, Dryad. Turn 3, double Amulet. Turn 1, Grazer. This does go really bad into Force of Negation, or Force of Vigor, but I don't think that they're playing Force of Vigor anymore. They don't run that many green cards to really... I mean, I guess they probably do run enough green cards, but it's a risk playing out this line. But they are also, they mulliganed, so they're down to 4 cards in hand, so Force of Vigor would actually put them pretty far behind too. Probably us more far behind, but okay. So they have Binding, which means they most likely don't have the Force. While Might's good, it can get rid of Binding, but I don't have a green that comes into play untapped. So I'll just play out Valakut, and then hopefully be able to get the Amulet off of the Saga, but they actually have Teferi too, so they're lining up pretty well here. And bounce my Saga. Grazer, so I really want to get my green mana so I can use this Might, and I can play Grazer, and I can play Dryad. Like, all these cards in my hand I really want to start getting out, so I'm going to play the green mana. This does mean I'm going to have to discard a hand size, which is a really tough choice here, but I think the Valakut is the better thing. It's the known information they have, and I already have 1 Valakut. They play out a Grazer with no land drop, which is good for us. Does make me wonder what's in their hand though, if it's not lands, maybe just 4 drops. Alright, Turn Timber is another payoff. I just got to get to 7 mana. So there was a consideration there for playing the Might, destroying the Binding, playing my lands, playing the Grazer to put the land back in, and playing the Dryad. That's a lot of investment for something that just, if they have a second Binding, it's going to make the whole thing far apart and just waste a bunch of cards. So safer thing here is just playing out the Dryad and playing another land drop for the turn. That would just give me the better set for next turn, regardless of what they do. They do end up drawing a lands, and then explosives on 1. So if I play out the Might, I kill the Binding, I get the Amulet, I can play the bounce land. They can either let me get the bounce land, in which case I'll play it again and I can get 6 mana, which means I'd have to play out the Grazer to get to 7th mana to actually Turn Timber. So let's try that route. If they do use the explosives, then they blow up their 2 Grazers and I get to attack in with the Dryad, and I still get, even without Amulet, I still have a lot of mana next turn. So they take a long pause thinking about it if they want to lose their 2 Grazers, and they end up losing. They don't mind losing their 2 Grazers. They kill my Amulet. I do still get this trigger though. They don't actually get to blow up Amulet before I get to play my land drop, so I'll I'll get to untap, play out Grazer. Gonna put the Valakut into play tapped. And then I don't know if that's right to play that out, or to hold it to actually cast it. I wouldn't have enough mana to cast it next turn, so And now if I do draw the land, I can play the Cityscape Leveler. So also with the untap trigger I do now, I'm able to make a Saga token at the end of turn. So it's not looking too bad. Plus up to Fairy. They have 4 mana, 3 cards, and still nothing to play. Go and make a Construct token. Alright, Titan, definitely a good draw here. Don't have enough to play Titan and make a second token, so we're just flip the green mana, play the Titan with the Amulet out. Going to be able to get the haste lands, and don't even need to go bounce land. I already have Valakut out and the Hydriad out, so I can actually just get, I can't get the second Valakut, but I could get a Vesuva. Vesuva plus the haste land is 2 ETB triggers on, or 6 ETB triggers on Valakut, and then an attack trigger and more, and yeah, it's definitely overkill. So we end up getting that match. Pretty close on the time there. There was an 8-minute difference there between their clock and our clock, so a little bit of a slow player, but it's alright. They still had 6 minutes, there's still plenty left. Some tough decisions this game. Alright, that was match 1. Start of match 2, game 1. Again, lost a die roll, so we'll be on the draw. Risky hand here. It does have the green sun, so it could get a kind of small green sun. Turn 3 Dryad. Really just need to find lands in our 32 land deck. So, and then we'll be fine. So I think we'll be fine. We'll try it. Just a little risky. And we're on the draw, so we get the extra chance. Alright, there's 1 land. That's a good start. Player land tapped. Steam vents into cycling. So looks like living end, not a particularly good matchup for us. Okay, a really bad matchup for us. Okay, we're getting our lands. So gonna just do a value green sun here. One of the things I really like about green sun over Pact is, like, I already have the payoffs here, so I'm not really trying to find the payoff. I'm just trying to find some lands. So I'm just gonna green sun for X is 1. And really, really good luck here. Hit both a land and a creature, so I get to bring both of them to my hands, and that puts me at 8 cards in hand, so I will get to clean up for, discard for cleanup step. There, cycle 2 more creatures, discard a Primeval Titan. It is pretty tempting to also have the Colossus in the graveyard for the living ends, but depending on when they actually pull the trigger on the living ends, I may not have that many lands left in my hands for Colossus to necessarily be better, so we'll put the Titan in, play at the Dryad, play at the Pounce Land, bring back Cavern. They do have a lot of power in their graveyard. Play out 2 lands, so we have enough mana to cast Prime Time. We're going to cast it, and then we're just going to make them pull the trigger here, and we'll get the Paducah Bog and the Grill Turf. And yeah, they have the Violent Outburst, because they always have the instant speed one. They make some food, Get another prime time trigger. Grab Fountain and Sun Home. Doesn't really matter too much what we grab here. And then, actually, even with this prime time, they just had so many big. They just had so many of their big cyclers here, even blocking their biggest creature. We're still taking lethal. That's 23 points of damage. We're at 22. And then Violent Outburst again just gives him another +1. It was already lethal, just going in there for the extra. So yeah, no matter how we block this, it's still lethal. Alright, tough matchup. Try better, game 2. Siding out the Emrakul plan again. If they have the instant speed, they can just do that to hit the instant speed living ends. They can just get rid of the Emrakul before we can get to attack, and shuffling my own graveyard isn't a good thing against living end. I would like to try to get some creatures in there that I can bring back. So siding out the Emrakul, putting in the Endurance and the Relic, as those are the two graveyard hate cards, and then just taking out the two Caverns. Not really helpful in the matchup. They're not really countering any of the spells. And then also putting in Jamoka. It's just another big creature that's again graveyard. Comes back, and it also stops their instant speed interaction of subtlety, and it stops the instant speed living in. They still get the sorcery, but it's not as scary as an end of turn as it's their turn living in. Alright, so we'll be on the play. Good hand here. Not great against living in. It doesn't have any of our interactive things against them, so it's probably not worth it to try and mulligan until we hit it. Play out our Grazer, ramp us into the turn 2 Dryad. They pause here thinking if they want a subtlety, and they do end up subtletying. We already have a second Dryad, so we'll just put this one at bottom. And then definitely got attacking with the Grazer. They cycle in the turn. Drawing into through the breach. Not exactly good. Play out Dryad. Play out the lands. If we draw a land, we can Churn Timber. Come play on tap land. Attacking with Grazer again. They just put more big beefy creatures in the graveyard. And then that Dryad we put on bottom finds its way back to the top. Attacking 2. So I think we just hold on to the Churn Timber rather than playing it as a land for the turn. If we draw into a land, we can actually cast it. If we draw into something that we need the land for, we can just play it as a land. So we'll just pass out. And then there's no reason to play into Dryad. They're probably going to Living End here. So I'll just be playing the Dryad into Living End. And they do have the Violent Outburst. So that is a lethal attack here, so we have to do a very sad thing of through the breaching a blocker. So we play through the breach, they don't know what we have, they don't know what we're breaching in, so they cycle to try to find a force of negation. They don't find it, but it's just Dryad. It's just Trump blocker. Throw that in front of one of these 5-power creatures. Take damage down to 4 life. So I don't know that there's anything we can top deck here, but we'll try. And Grazer is definitely not it. So play out the Grazer, play out the Trend Timber, and unfortunately we're at 4 life and not 3, so we pay the 3 life and only go down to 1, and they attack in for lethal. So that's the end of match 2, going 1-1 into this league. Match 3. We actually won a die roll, so we'll be on the play. So it's a pretty slow hand, no payoff, but it's keepable. I don't like, this is one of the downsides to the breach is hands like this, where it's just a dead card, but it's keepable. We can try to draw into something. Looks like Murktide. Alright, more lands isn't exactly what we want to draw into. So I'm not playing at the Saga with this slower hands. The game plan is to actually make some Saga tokens, because we don't really have a payoff, so there's no reason to try to like rush into the Amulet. And so I want turn 3 to play the Azusa, which means the Saga I can't play until turn 3 if I want to make tokens. So here's the Saga on turn 3, and the Azusa. Played out the Saga first. If I give them a chance to respond, they can kill my Azusa, so I want to just play lands that don't have ETB triggers first, and then play the ones with ETB triggers. So I play at this Lay of Stronghold, so they don't have a chance to respond, and then after I play my 3rd land drop, now they can respond, but I've already made all my land drops, so it's kind of funny that, you know, they do it the first opportunity they can, even though it doesn't matter, I already made all land drops. Alright, Express Iteration, turn, attacking for 5, they hit one of my prime times. I'd love to have drawn that. Preordain. Alright, so they have 1 mana. They could have a Spell Pierce. So I start thinking about this Green Sun, but they have a Spell Pierce, so you just pierce my Green Sun, and I'm not in a great spot. So I think just making this Saga token might be better. It's hard to say. So the iteration before combat, which seems so weird. I think you'd want to hit with the Reg Van. I guess maybe trying to find something to deal with the Saga token. But I'm going to make the Saga token, attempt to block. They don't have the removal spell, so I actually get to do a good trade here. Second trend there. And they tap out here for a big Murktide. So good thing is they tapped out, so we get to Green Sun here. Get the Amulet. Play out the Vestige. If I do hit Dryad Valakut off of this Green Sun, I want to make sure I have the land drops to actually use the Valakut triggers. So play the Vestige over the Bounce Land just for that purpose. So Green Sun, where X is 6, so I get to look at the top 7. And this is a downside of Green Sun. This is a terrible 7 cards to see. I get Dryad and no relevant lands. No Bajuka Bog, no Valakut. I mean, I guess I could. I see the line now. I could have got the Bounce Land and bounce the Fountain over game the Saga. Then my second land for the turn, I could have recast the Saga. Instead, I get Fountain. I could have recast the Fountain, gain 2 life. I want to keep the Cavern because I don't know what to name, and I want to keep the Root Farm because it's potentially a lot of mana if the Dryad gets to live. So I get Delirium again pretty easily. Attack in. A lot of Considers, a lot of digging. They don't look like they found the Bolt, but they have 4 cards in hand. So 4 cards in hand, none of them are bolts. One of them's got to be a counterspell, so I consider the Breach here, but if they just counterspell this Breach, then I'm dead. My only out here is for this Colossus to actually resolve, so I have to play out the Cavern first. Naming Beast, which also I don't like playing at the Cavern, because that's 1 less land for this Cultivator, which means this has a very, very low chance of doing much, but we'll play it anyway. They don't have the Dress Down, so that's good. It doesn't just instantly die with nothing. And yeah, got to draw 1 card off of it and put 1 land in play, which that 1 land in play does give me enough mana that I can through the Breach this Emrakul, so we'll try that. And as predicted, they have a counterspell, so even if I would have got this to resolve, I would have attacked in for 17, they would have sacked everything but their 2 creatures. I could only block 1 of their 2 creatures, and I still would have died. Actually, wait, no, through the Breach, Emrakul, I couldn't block either of the creatures, so yeah, they just saved 2 creatures. They take 17, they live at less than, or greater than 0 life, and attack in, so yeah, even if that would have resolved, I wouldn't have done it, but it would have been cool. Game 2. So Murktide is a deck that I've always struggled with playing Titan. They just seem, it just feels unfavored. They just have the counters and the fast clock, and sideboard they get to put in Blood Moon, so I side a lot against them. Siding out 3 Sagas and 1 Amulet for their Blood Moon. Siding out the Colossus, because it's really bad if they do have the Dress Down. Zeusa just dies too easily to a lot of the stuff they have. Atraxa is a tough one to, I really want to keep that in, but against the Blood Moon, and it is a 7/7 as well, so it does live through their removal, and it is flying and Death Touch, so really tough call to side it out, but I want to put in the extra Cavern, the Care Keep, put in the Tireless Trackers, put in the Dramoka, put in the Cityscape Leveler, just those bigger creatures. And Cityscape Leveler, it also has a cast trigger, so even if it's countered, it still gets to destroy something, so I don't know. Trax is good against him if they can resolve, but it is tough to get it out against him, so. Alright, on the play again. Good hands against him, not good against Blood Moon. But it does have the Cavern. It's got Dryad. So start off with the turn 1 Saga. Especially if they're playing Blood Moon, I just want to get the Saga out sooner. This hand's also not good against the turn 1 Ragavan, which Ragavan is a reason to bring in the Might. Haywire Might does block Ragavan well and gains the 2 life while it's at it, and it's good against their Blood Moon, and if they have their Dress Down, it's good against that too. Cavern's good against him. Now I can name out Dryad, and on the next one can name out Humid for the tracker. Alright, let's see as we get turned to Blood Moon. They hit my Green Sun, they search for the basic islands, and actually not a turn to Blood Moon, so that's good. There might actually be a chance. Alright, so they bobble, they know we are drawing a garden. Going to get one of our amulets. Play out the Dryad. And then play out this Cavern on human so I can play my tracker before making a land drop. Yeah, they have the removal. Interesting here that the iteration before combat, I would think you always want to attack and maybe cast what you hit. And also weird that they bobble before they attack with Regavan. They just get to look at the card, they're going to steal it anyway, so I don't understand that. And it's my care keep. That would have been good against the Regavan. Okay, a bounce land just means I can play out a bounce land and still keep one in hand. There's no way to stack this in a way that will allow me to save this from a burn spell. And they have the burn spell. But at least I get to get one trigger off the investigate, bounce back this cavern so I can replay and name something else. They attack in. Exile my root farm. And they have the Blood Moon, so go ahead and tap that for 2 mana while I can. Draw a card. It's another lands. And it's a big Murktide. And it's more lands, so flooding up pretty bad here. On a very short clock with this attacks here, and they actually hit a prime time that they get to cast. Get 2 more basic lands. And I actually draw my forest here, but it doesn't matter. Actually just needed something I could put in with Breach. Emrakul here. Yeah, I thought I would have drawn the Emrakul. They're exactly 15. If they didn't have the Spell Pierce exactly, then Solemnity doesn't do it. Yeah, that could have been game, but nope, drew lands. So, end up losing match 3, game 2 to Murktide, leaving us at 1 and 2 in this league. Match number 4, and we won the die roll. We get to be on the play. Really shouldn't keep this hand. It is not good, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's a huge risk, and it really needs a bounce land. But if I get to bounce land, then this hand is really good. So we're going to try it. And so far not looking good at drawing a land. And they're playing some form of the no land stack, so they're also not drawing lands. This is why this hand was I should not have kept. Gonna go Green Sun for 1. Using the garden for a green, just to try to look at the top card. If it's a land, put it in my hands. It is a land, not exactly the land I wanted. And they just have the turn 3 combo, kill. They play Spy, mill the entire graveyard, 3 Creeping Chills, get exiled, putting me on to 8. Knock Rebury comes in, brings in 3 swords. Savaging Titan gets played, triggers Vengevine, and 4 Vengevines swing with haste. Turn 3 combo. I'm not sure that version of the list plays Blood Moon Sideboard or not. They seem a lot less red mana, but I still am taking out the 2 of the Sagas, 1 of the Amulets, 1 of the Caverns, 1 Garden as well, and taking out the Traxa, putting in the Graveyard Hate with the Endurance and the Relic, putting in all the Enchantment and Artifact Hate with the Mites and the Forces, and running that. So, need a good aggressive starting hand here on the play, because against combo we just want to try to do our thing faster. And this hand, although it does look tempting because it has Boseiju, which is just straight up Stone Rain against them, it's not a good hand. Elesh Norn is also really good against their combo, but it's far from casting it. This hand is actually even further from casting Elesh Norn, and does have the endurance, but I sided out like 4 lands, which does make my deck a lot less likely to draw lands, which is even more reason to not keep this 1-lander. Okay, so we have both the Force and the Endurance. Because of this Churn Timber, we actually have a land for these bounce lands. So it's a really slow hand, not the aggressive start we wanted. It does have interaction though, and we are mauled down to 5 already, so we're going to have to keep it. And we really need all these lands. Putting 2 Titans on bottom. They are down to 4 cards, but their deck only needs 1 card to combo, so they mulligan really easily until they find it. Okay, so Vesuva's not a great draw here. Just play our bounce land. They got the turn 2 Talisman. So they could try to go for the turn 3 kill here again, but we do have the Surprise Endurance. Could pay the 3 life on this Churn Timber. It kind of gives the surprise away a little bit, hints at the Endurance, so I think just playing out this Vesuva, keeping the Churn Timber in my hands as a pitchable card, have more of the Surprise Endurance. They do not have the turn 3 combo. Their creature, they were missing a land drop, or they could have had it. Okay, so now with Relic, we can either just go for the Surprise Endurance, or the not Surprise Relic, while still holding up Endurance just in case. So we'll play out 2 lands. They attack in. Okay, Dryad's good. We can start getting these abundance of lands that we have out onto the battlefield and get closer to actually casting this Churn Timber to try to find a threat, even though we know 2 of our Titans are on the bottom of the graveyard, bottom of the library now, so it does make Churn Timber much more likely to miss. Okay, so they do go for it here, even though I have the Relic out. Go ahead and sack the Relic. And then they Memory Journey. So targeting the Oracle. They don't actually have the double blue right now. And the Force, I can't hit any other blue mana with the Force. If I draw a Boseiju, I could just let them do this, and I could kill their blue mana. They can't play Oracle. They would die to no cards in library. Because they only get one turn to play the Oracle. So if I can blow up one of their blue mana, even if they have a second one, they still can't play both of them. So, but I'm drawing 2 cards to try to find the Boseiju. I can't Titan into the Boseiju. I don't have the mana to do that. So I have to Endurance, or they just win. They put Oracle on top. Unless they're bluffing, they don't have the blue spell. But that seems like a really bad thing to bluff. So force the Endurance here. And all these fizzle because they're shuffled in now. Draw into Garden, which does mean that I can play Churn Timber next turn. Except they have the Silence. Kind of surprised that they had the Silence, that they didn't do it on their turn to stop me from Endurancing. Okay, so I did draw the Boseiju, so had I gone for that line, I would have drawn the Boseiju, I would have been blown the second blue, they wouldn't have the double blue, they would have drawn Oracle, and then they would have lost the game. Sad, but I mean, the odds weren't there, so. And now, hitting one of their lands, they could still combo off, so it doesn't seem worth to Boseiju. I think just holding it up would be better. And, yep, they have another combo piece, so sad. They mulligan down to 4. They keep what seemed like a really good 4-card hand. We mulligan down and keep a barely playable hand, so. They do the same thing here with Creeping Chill. I don't have any good targets for this Boseiju. I hit one of their artifacts, but they still have 3 to be able to cast their spell, which is their second creature, so bring back all the Vengevines. And we lose the combo. Yeah, kind of sad. We would have got there, but we took the safer line, and it didn't pay out. So, all right, 1-3 in this league. If we win the next match, we can still go 2-3. Not great, but if we lose it, 1-4, and we get nothing. So, see you in the last match. Final match. Lost the die roll, so we'll be on the draw. Really questionable hand. If this was 2 Summons Pact, this would easily be a mulligan. With it being Green Sun, they are more helpful early game and in multiples, so we'll try this and see how it showcases Green Sun over Summons Pact. They got Halfling, so it looks like it could be Yawgmoth. Never mind, it's not Yawgmoth. Chattering Thing. Okay, third Green Sun's not exactly ideal draw here. Go and cast one of these. Maybe try to find a land or something good. Lands and the Grazer. So, hindsight, I should have discarded the Grazer here over another Green Sun. With Azusa, I'm already going to be hitting all my land drops. I don't need Grazer for another land drop, and seeing that their deck doesn't seem like it's going to be one that's going to kill my Azusa. I mean, Chatterfang can do it, but yeah, drawing this second Grazer here even more just made me realize of how much I wish I would have still had that Green Sun. Because I do a little Green Sun here for 2, just to try to find that 6th land to play this Titan, and I whiff. Kind of sad that Symbiosis would have gotten me the Titan, but it's not actually a land, so I can't grab it. And then they end up company here. They get a Haywire Mite and a Goose, which gives them a bunch of tokens to play an Oven to make more tokens. And then they end up blowing up my Saga, and I draw into Emrakul. Play one of my Grazers just as a blocker. So now even a land won't allow me to play the Titan, which is, yeah, I wish I would have still had that Green Sun over these 2 Grazers. I mean, Green Sun definitely doing more work than Summer's Pact would have here, but still not doing enough work to get me out of the situation. They get to Scry Ton, and with the clue tokens they can draw whatever they scry into. So they scry, let's draw their token, or draw their card with the clue token, and then they chord for 3 here. I don't know why they don't just chord for the cat and combo. But they get another token generator just so they can make a ton of tokens, scry a bunch more, and then draw into another token generator. And then finally they get into the cat. So don't know why they didn't just go for the cat sooner. This is game 1, like they're just showing me more information. I don't know, but we'll go to game 2. For game 2, I ended up siding out the Through the Breach, Emrakul Atraxa package, putting in the Force of Vigors and the Haywire Mites. Probably should have put in Dismember. And Graveyard Hate. I don't know if definitely not the Endurance. The Relic may be worth it to stop the combo, but they also do play Might, so they probably just Might the Relic before they go to combo. So end up on the play. Really not a good hand here, especially because I imagine they're probably playing Force. They are green heavy deck, so just relying on 2 amulets, no payouts, my Force to actually do something good. Yeah, mulligan that. This hand's much better. It's painful, this Turn Timber being my only untapped land, but it's a keepable hand. Put the Green Sun on bottom. Pay the 3 life to play the Grazer to turf and return Turn Timber. They go turn 1 Chalice. I like seeing Chalice on 0. It does nothing against this deck. Play out Dryad. Play my Valaka. Can almost get it online now. Of course, gotta swing in for 0. Samwise. Copy Turf just to try to get me up to that 6 mana so I can play Titan next turn. And yeah, they force Serum Response before I get my second land drop. So I'll bounce my land that comes in play untapped. So next turn I can play untapped. They play Token Generator, get a bunch of tokens. So Amulet's an interesting draw here. Unfortunately, I can't play it and Titan, so I mean I gotta play Titan over the Amulet, but and then just gonna get the Boseiju and bounce and get Boseiju in my hand. Have that ready. They play their Chatterfang, make a bunch of tokens, play the land to make more tokens, and now they have enough tokens they can kill my Titan. And attack in for essentially 1, putting me down to 10. So Dryad, gotta do the math here. I can play Dryad, I can play the lands, Valakut trigger, and I can play Titan. But I can't play Amulet with that route, so then and I already have Vesuva on the battlefield, so I can get Valakut, and I can get like 4 Valakut triggers. Or if I play the Amulet first, then play the Titan, give the Titan haste, and this also plays around if they do have the Force of Vigor again, because then I could actually just play out the Dryad after they Force of Vigor the Amulet, and then I could still at least get 1 Valakut trigger. But it doesn't seem like they have the Force, or at least I don't see it worth using on an Amulet. So attack in here, get the Valakut, and then have the bounce lands. Just bounce another bounce land, a tapped one. Puts him down to 9. And then I should have played the Vesuva here to copy the Valakut, and that would have just been 9 points of damage. Instead, I play the bounce land, and then my second land drop. It doesn't really matter in the end. I mean, it's still lethal, but yeah, it's just probably the better line. But we do end up picking up game 2. So, last game of the league. So we either win this one and at least get half our entry back, or lose it and get nothing. So for the 2 and 3, I did end up deciding I want the Dismember's in to stop their combo. It also kills their Greasefang and some of their other key good cards. I probably should have put in game 2, but I take out 1 Churn Timber and 1 Caverner Souls, and then that's the only change. Trap hands. Again, I did see the Force, so leading on a hand that's just getting a bunch of amulets and nothing to do with them, and if they force the amulets, I just have lands. So yeah, not worth keeping. Better hands, it's got Valakut and Dryad, really good against him because I can just kill the creatures. I don't have that many lands, so Zeus is pretty easy to just put on bottom here. Keep the 4 lands, Dryad, Titan. And they do mulligan down to 5 cards. Start with the Haywire Might, so good thing I didn't keep the Amulet Heavy hand. There's the turn 2 Samwise. This could be a turn 3 combo kill. And I've got nothing going on here, as I drew into another Dryad, which I didn't need. I did need the forest, well, land in general. They think about the attack, they don't, so, I mean, it's pretty obvious here they're holding up the Court of Calling, but I really can't do anything about it, so play out my Dryad, try to get to my land drops to make this Valakut hit. Next turn I could Titan and trigger Valakut. They do in fact have the Cord, get to Seer, and there's the Familiar, and if you're not familiar with the combo, then they play the Familiar, they get a token, food token with Samwise, sack the Familiar to their Seer, Scry, then they sack the food to bring back Familiar, which makes a food token, and they get to repeat. So they get this game, leaving us 1-4 with the deck. Alright, thank you all for watching. If you made it this far to the end, please remember, like and subscribe. Not the best showing for the deck with the 1-4 result, but I'm still gonna post it. Just kind of show the deck. Not all the, even though the record was 1-4, I still think the games were pretty good. Most of them were just unlucky on the draws. They had all the right things. 2 of them were just combo decks, and they just did their thing faster. And then, yeah, just the tough matchup that's Living Ends, which I guess you could also call a combo deck. Tough league, but I do think that Through the Breach Emrakul is a little, especially this league, it kind of showed a little clunky. I do like the Green Sun. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the Green Sun, especially seeing after this league some of those highlights of these games where it was really good. It allowed me early game to just kind of spend my mana and do something where Summer's Pact would not have. But then also looking at top 7 cards and still getting a Dryad and the lands, not bad, but wasn't enough to get me out of that. But even Pact for a Titan wouldn't have done that one either. So let me know. I will still continue to try some more Green Sun over the Summer's Pact, but I do think I'll probably end up cutting the Through the Breach Emrakul, probably moving the Elish back main deck. I really do like it, and I sided it in against a lot of decks. I think I forgot to mention I also did side in against the that last match there. Didn't draw it, but it does stop that combo when the cat entering doesn't create food. You can't combo. So, and Elish also stopped the other combo, the no lands, oops, all spells combo. So I do think I could see that in there. I just want to have the threat counts, especially when playing 4 Green Suns and 2 Churn Timbers. For these to be likely to actually hit something, need more threats than just Primetime. So I think Primetime attracts a Colossus, maybe 2 Elish Norns, might be a little better, and then I get to cut Through the Breach and the Emrakul, get one more slot for maybe another threat, but a more castable threat than Emrakul, something that I don't need to rely on trying to play Through the Breach to get it out. But it is nice being able to Through the Breach through Blood Moon. That's mainly the reason why I went to the Through the Breach, is there was a lot of Blood Moon. So being able to Through Breach a Titan felt good, getting out those 2 basic forests. But even the games I did that, I still ended up losing. Titan doesn't stick around, so I get my forest, but then I'm still in top deck mode, and normally they still have something else going on, so it still doesn't help too much. Not like the other decks that rely more, or they get the Emrakul, that actually shuffles back and they try to draw it again. Titan doesn't do that, so it's less good than that. But again, thanks for watching this far. If you do like my stuff, remember, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down, let me know what you think of the league, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.